The United States has significantly increased the tempo of operations of its E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft, and these aircraft are continuously orbiting over Jordan, northern Saudi Arabia, southern Iraq, and the eastern Mediterranean. Today, it feels like the United States is realizing the impact of not having a good AWACS aircraft. What is the reason? These AWACS aircraft are currently flying in the air trying to track Iranian drones and Iranian missiles, which are currently moving across the entire GCC region. And what is the biggest reason for this? At this time, Americans are heavily relying on the E-3 Sentry aircraft because, at the start of the war, the Iranians destroyed the American ground-based radar systems. You saw at the beginning of the war that in Qatar and the UAE, American ground-based radars were targeted by Iran with pinpoint accuracy, and because of this, the eyes of the Americans over the region, through which they tried to detect Iranian drones and track Iran's ballistic missiles, the entire system was disrupted. Because of this, you are now seeing that American aerial refueling tankers are being shot down in Iraqi areas, because their workload has also increased. And to keep an AWACS aircraft in the air continuously, the number of aerial refueling sorties has also increased, so that these E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft can keep flying continuously and compensate for the gap created by the destruction of ground-based radars, and provide persistent radar coverage to American forces. On February 28, when this war started, up until now, the Iranians have attacked approximately 17 U.S. military facilities, and it is said that nearly $3 billion worth of American radars have been destroyed. Among them, the most important radar was the FPS-132 early warning radar located in Qatar. And you can say that this FPS-132 radar destroyed in Qatar was the only model of its type that the US had in that region. Apart from that, 2 and/TPY-2 radars, which are used for THAAD systems, were destroyed in Jordan and the UAE. These heavy radars were also responsible for detecting and tracking ballistic missiles. After these three major radars were destroyed, the U.S. Air Force had to increase reliance on its E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft, and their flights were intensified over the Middle East and Europe. These E-3 Sentry aircraft provide large airborne radar coverage, perform battle management, data link coordination, and work with different air defense networks, but they also have some limitations. The biggest limitation is that the aircraft platform itself has become very old. Its radar and avionics are outdated, and for detecting stealth-type drones like Shahed 191, it is no longer considered very effective. Also, as I mentioned, these are very old aircraft, and in terms of electronic warfare, they are highly vulnerable to electronic attacks. Now, the US is also working on the E-7 Wedgetail aircraft. We know that the US Department of Defense had canceled its procurement plan in 2025, but now it seems that Americans want to acquire the E-7 quickly. And in my opinion, they have already placed an order for the E-7 aircraft. At this time, the US has suffered heavy losses in this war, not just in terms of damage, but financially as well. And the US defense budget is already very stretched, and for several future programs, the US is shelving some older programs. Maybe this is why the E-7 order was not placed earlier. But now, in a rushed situation, the Americans have brought an E-7 Wedgetail aircraft from the Royal Australian Air Force. This aircraft arrived in the Gulf region on March 11 and is now performing air defense duties there. At the same time, the U.S. Army is gathering its air defense systems and radars from across the world and bringing them back to the Middle East to compensate for the radars destroyed by Iran. One of the most significant cases is South Korea, which has even protested. South Korea says that if these radars are removed, it could face attacks from North Korea, and it urgently needs these systems for its own defense. Support is also being taken from Turkey, and NATO missile defense radars in Turkey are now being relied upon more heavily. Turkey is currently providing early warning data through its Cursik radar station. This basically means that the US has now started using NATO assets. It is also said that these NATO radars in Turkey have been anticipating monitoring Iran since 2012. Some people are even saying that Americans are requesting Turkey to use the radars of the S-400 system to detect Iranian missiles and provide that data, but how true this is cannot be confirmed. So overall, you can say that the operational tempo of E-3 Sentry aircraft has increased, their flights have been intensified, and E-7 Wedgetail has been brought from Australia, US radars from around the world are being relocated to the Middle East, and even Turkey's S-400 radars are being considered for missile detection. Do share your opinion in the comments section. That's all for today.